Welcome to This Explainer. What if the Ramayana is far more than a simple story of good defeating evil? What if, instead, it's a timeless journey about duty, sacrifice, love, and the real consequences of every single choice we make? For thousands of years, this epic has inspired literally millions of people, yet so many of us only know the surface level. Today, we are going to uncover the untold truth behind one of history's greatest epics. This is the Unspoken. It's so easy to look at ancient texts in simple black and white, right? But I want to challenge what we think we know. Was Ravana really only a villain? Why on earth would Rama willingly give up an entire kingdom? And what actually made Hanuman the greatest symbol of devotion? Let's peel back the layers of epic battles and miracles to expose the incredibly relatable human elements of this story that still shape our world today.
Part 1. Beyond Good and Evil.
To really get this, we need to look at the timeline. The central events of the epic span an incredible 14-year journey. We're talking day one, getting ready for a huge coronation in Ayodhya, all the way through over a decade of living simply in forest hermitages, leading up to a massive war in Lanka, and finally a triumphant return. Keeping this structure in mind lets us focus entirely on the heavy moral weight behind these pivotal events. Part 2. Power measured by character. Okay, so our story kicks off in the wildly prosperous kingdom of Ayodhya. Prince Rama was loved by literally everyone. He was wise, brave, humble, and chosen to be the next king. The whole kingdom was celebrating. But just before the ceremony, everything flipped. Queen Kaikeyi invoked two old promises, completely cornering King Dasharatha. She demanded her own son, Bharata, become king, and shockingly, that Rama be banished into exile for 14 years. The king was absolutely heartbroken, but a promise was a promise. Now, what's truly fascinating here is the choice Rama makes. Think about it. He had the love of the people and the army. He could have easily claimed the throne by force, but instead, he chooses to honor his father's word. And he does it without a single shred of anger or hatred. He just accepts the exile. By willingly embracing a tough life of simplicity in the forest, alongside his wife Sita and his devoted brother Lakshmana, Rama proves his unmatched personal integrity. In that single, split-second moment of stepping away from absolute power, he showed us that true greatness is measured by character, not by power. It's a lesson in duty that is, frankly, incredibly hard to live up to.
Part 3. The Trap of Arrogance.
So life in the forest was far from easy. But the greatest challenge was actually waiting far away. Enter Ravana. And guys, Ravana is such a fascinating character study because he wasn't just some mindless monster. He was the king of the magnificent Lanka, a brilliant scholar, and a great devotee of Lord Shiva with extraordinary strength. But his fatal flaw? Unmatched pride. His arrogance completely convinced him that he deserved literally everything he desired, especially when he heard about Sita's beauty. It really shows how intelligence without self-control is a dangerous thing.
Driven by this arrogant desire, Ravana pulls off a masterfully clever deception. He has the demon Maricha transform into a magical golden deer to lure Rama deep into the forest. Then, a fake cry for help echoes out, and Lakshmana runs off to help, leaving Sita entirely unprotected. Left alone, Sita is tricked by Ravana, who had disguised himself as a harmless old ascetic asking for food. As soon as she stepped beyond the safety of the hermitage, boom, he reveals his true form and abducts her, carrying her away in his flying chariot.
During this horrific journey, we see an unbelievable moment of sacrifice. The brave, aging bird Jatayu actually fights Ravana to try and save Sita. Notice the crazy contrast here. You have Ravana, who has immense physical strength but zero morality, fighting Jatayu, who is physically weak and old, but possesses absolute moral courage. Jatayu sacrificed his life trying to stop the powerful king, and because of that, he became one of the greatest examples of loyalty in the entire epic.
Part 4. Faith Overcoming Fear.
When Rama and Lakshmana finally returned to an empty hermitage, they were shattered. But they didn't give up. Their desperate search led them through forests and mountains to the kingdom of the Vanaras, where they meet the legendary Hanuman. Now, Hanuman was incredibly strong, but also deeply humble, wise, and totally fearless. After learning where Sita had been taken, he performs one of the most extraordinary feats in the entire story. With absolute, unwavering faith, he leaps all the way across the vast ocean to Lanka. There, hidden in the beautiful gardens of Ashokavatika, he finds Sita, imprisoned, yes, but completely unbroken in spirit. He gives her Rama's ring to prove help is on the way. And this next part just brilliantly captures Hanuman's character. Before leaving, he actually warns Ravana to return Sita peacefully. Ravana, of course, refuses, so Hanuman deliberately lets himself be captured. They set his tail on fire to mock him, but instead of surrendering to captivity, he uses those very flames to set large parts of Lanka ablaze before escaping safely. Talk about a literal symbol of faith overcoming fear. Part 5. The Battle Within. With Hanuman back, it was obvious that peace was off the table. Rama gathers an army of Vanaras, led by Sugriva, builds a massive, near-impossible bridge across the ocean, and marches straight toward Lanka. And the final war was completely fierce. You had mighty warriors fighting with totally different motivations. Ravana's son, Indrajit, fighting with incredible skill, and Kumbhakana fighting out of blind loyalty to his brother, even knowing his brother was dead wrong. Day after day, it was a bitter, exhausting fight, filled with profound sacrifice and tragedy. Finally, we get to the unforgettable duel between Rama and Ravana. Ravana had immense strength and powerful weapons, but his ultimate downfall was exactly what started this whole mess: his pride. It completely prevented him from accepting wisdom or just admitting his mistakes. In the end, Rama defeats him. And this victory wasn't merely the defeat of a king. It symbolized the triumph of self-control over desire and truth over injustice.
With the long conflict finally over, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana make their way back home to Ayodhya. They were greeted by a wildly joyous public who lit countless lamps to welcome them out of the darkness. It was a beautiful, triumphant celebration that we still honor today all across the world as Diwali.
Rama was crowned king, and his reign became known as Ram Raja, which is essentially an ideal kingdom built entirely upon justice, compassion, and responsibility. It proves that Ram Raja is a timeless concept, rather than just a historical era. Yet, it also reminds us that leadership is incredibly heavy. Every single decision carries huge consequences, and even the noblest leaders face agonizing choices. And this brings us to our most important takeaway today. The Ramayana isn't just some ancient text, it's a profound guide to life, perfectly distilled into these specific characters. Rama teaches us that honor is way more valuable than power. Sita reminds us that dignity can survive even the darkest trials. Hanuman proves that real strength comes from humility. And Ravana? He warns us that intelligence without self-control leads to total destruction. Why does this matter to you and me right now? Because the epic endures by reminding us of a hard, universal truth. The greatest battles are not actually fought on distant battlefields with swords and arrows. They are fought right within our own hearts. Every single day, we have to make our own choices between selfishness and duty. Which brings us to our final thought. The Ramayana remains one of humanity's greatest stories because it holds up a mirror to our daily actions. Your internal choices absolutely shape your world. So we leave you with this unspoken truth to carry forward. Which path will you take? Will you choose pride and anger or humility and compassion today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.